The Conceited Knowbody. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m.
Yo. What's up? We back with another episode of the best podcast you never heard of, The Conceited Knowbody. You already know who I am. This is Taurus, a.k.a. The Commodity, a.k.a. Shit, I ain't nobody else today. We about to have a fantastic episode. This is episode 107. Is it, what episode is this?
Episode 108.
108. I swear I think I put 109 down even though I've been corrected. It's about to be another. No, I put 109. I might go back and change that. We up in here, man. We off to a late start on a different day. We usually rock on Tuesdays. We had to have a quick change. Before I go into the quick change, let me introduce the panel to the far right. And I got my phone. I thought I had my Bluetooth connected. Hey, but we're gonna skip past the guests. We already introduced the guests last. We got to the far right, the man that makes it happen. The engine to the car, Kodak motherfucking Juvie. The Renaissance Juvie, he does it all, makes it all happen.
In the building.
How you feeling, man?
Man, it's pretty good, pretty decent. It's like my day started off bad and gradually my mood just got better, you know what I mean? So it's like, yeah.
And between us, we got our guest, the world famous, internationally known journalist. She's been in Beirut, South Africa, and more importantly, Indianapolis, Indiana. Jade, the journalist.
Hey everybody.
This is our guest. She gonna come in and kick it with us, talk about the professional nosy business.
I'm glad to be here with my professional nosy business.
But no, we over here chilling, man. We about to have a fantastic show. We are recording on a Wednesday as opposed to Tuesday because we had to have a change in plans. Yesterday, sundown was the Day of Atonement up until sundown today. Almost ain't even running this week, man, but we had to because we got the show to promote this weekend coming up. I don't know if people are too familiar with what the Day of Atonement is. It's a day that the nation, the Israelite nation, has to repent towards the Most High Yahuwah, where he calls us not to work, eat, drink, or indulge from sundown to sundown on the 10th day of the 7th month. A lot of people don't understand how out of whack this calendar is under this Julian calendar as opposed to the calendar of the Most High. But in short, that's why we rocking on a Wednesday. The aforementioned show that we got coming up. Don't forget to get your tickets to the world famous. I think I saw this on BET the other day. Soul in the City. I saw them when they were talking about it. But we got Soul in the City coming up this Saturday from 6 to 11 at the Icon Lounge. We got a fantastic lineup waiting.
Fantastic lineup.
Want to run the lineup through?
Man, we got Terrence, man, one of the greatest R&B talents, man, coming out of Indianapolis right now. You know, like the male R&B scene seems like it's kind of dry right now. So it's kind of good, man, to have them, come up on the show with some great talent. We got Jamal White coming on. He got some dancers coming with him, so I'm kind of excited to see what kind of routine they got to put together, man, along to his music. You know what I mean? So that's gonna be interesting how he put that together in the choreography. So I'm ready to see that. And then you got, of course, the women coming. Cambria coming, man. She got some great music, but she ain't really put no project out yet, but she definitely got some hit. I call them some hit singles. We don't call them hit singles even though they ain't on the billboards yet. And then we got last but not least,
Allison Victoria ready to turn it up.
Allison Victoria. So man, this is an all-star lineup.
It's gonna be fantastic, man. All of them seem pretty seasoned. They done performed publicly before. They all excited. Well, I'll guarantee 3 or 4 excited.
Yeah.
I can't vouch for the 4.
You can't
But it's gonna be a dope show, man. We got DJ T-Rex in here on the sound. We got Joe Talks, period, and Jasmine Daily Truth up here. They're gonna host for us. It's gonna be a dope and exciting show. I really can't wait to see how it's gonna turn out. I can't wait to see these people perform. I feel like we bring a little bit of a twist toward Indianapolis as far as the entertainment. It's always so many hip hop shows going, and no one is really highlighting the R&B talent. So it's gonna be something nice. How you feeling about it? You excited?
Man, yeah, I'm ready for it. Just because, like I said, man, we're doing something different than what's going on, man. There's a lot of hip hop waves, even with the underground battling that's going on, on the scene as well. So it's like, man, we finally somebody got paid the way for the R&B talent.
You got your seat picked out?
Yeah, you do it.
Yeah. I'm gonna come out there, man, with some kind of Morris Day shit.
Yeah.
Y'all too young for that Morris Day. I might walk out there with a goddamn parrot on my shoulder. I don't know, man. It depends on how the weather is. If it's parrot weather, I'm wearing a parrot. But no, I definitely can't wait. Again, you can contact us in the DM for ticket inquiries. You can contact the artist and they can make it happen right there. It's $10 advance, $15 at the door. It's crazy he brought it the dry spell as far as R&B scene, because I think it's a dry spell as far as R&B, period. Especially within the, a particular age group, say 30 and under.
Yeah.
We used to maybe 30 to late teens where the R&B singers seem like make their bones, so to speak. We know that we still, like, probably the newest, the most popular young R&B singer is making his living off of redoing songs. Jacquees.
Yeah.
He's making a whole living off of other people's songs. Like he doesn't have any of his own songs that has them notable. Why do you think hip hop is? R&B or soul music is taking such a hit so far? Both of y'all can answer that.
Well, I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna let you go last again. So, man, I think because it ain't no new sound. Like, anybody found that sound that's gonna stick. You know how, like, in hip hop rap right now, it's a certain kind of sound. You got the trap drums. You got a lot of young dudes got like the auto tune with the rapping that's going on, and I don't know. It's a certain sound, man, that these kids is listening to. That's getting these streams and getting these, labels want to sign these people where they getting these views. You know what I mean? And they selling these concerts out. So I don't think the R&B scene on the male side has actually found that yet. The females I think they're still doing pretty good, I'd say, but I don't think the males really like, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you got Chris Brown, so I can't really say, you got Chris Brown in it, but it's like,
Chris Brown been in the game since the early 2000s.
You know what I mean? It ain't no like bunch of young new R&B artists. You know, basically what I'm getting at. It's like when you just think about male R&B, of course it's like the stars, but there's no like little babies, no Madonnas, like just random and people that's just, you know what I'm talking about, a lot of local talent, motherfuckers on the scene. Like they ain't doing no R&B talent show, they doing a hip hop talent, show that they got on Netflix. So it's like, that's kind of my point.
And I think it kind of changed too from just 90s R&B. Like, I think people kind of look at 90s R&B and say, oh, that's a classic. Whereas nowadays, I think the content, like what they're singing about, isn't really resonating with what we want. Because, usually R&B artist is their audience is going to be younger women, And younger women, we kind of like the old school vibe of like romance and romanticizing relationships and whatever they're singing about. Whereas now it's kind of like the R&B artists are trying to sing about what the rappers are rapping about, which would be like kind of vulgar things or kind of over sexualized to where women are kind of like, nah.
I agree with that for the most part. The part where you said that the content, and I think people understand, like, I think the sentiment sort of changed when R. Kelly, the embattled R. Kelly, kept calling himself the R&B thug. That's when it started happening. When he started trying to be the R&B thug, he doing the best of both worlds with Jay-Z. If you ever listen to any of those CDs or however it is now, those streams.
I'm gonna tell you where it's
Hold on real quick. If you listen to those, the first one is actually a pretty good CD, but the content it's on some gangster shit where I'm hard as fuck. I'm proved to these rappers I'm hard, and I think that was the transition. The second part for me was, I think that with so-called liberation of women. Women aren't perceived as, and when I say this, I mean in the public light, they're not perceived as somebody who wants to be wooed anymore. It's somebody who wants to be equal, or I can woo you, or I don't need you to woo me. I'm strong. I can woo myself. You know what I'm saying? So the whole, I think it's a culture thing which causes that to change, where you don't hear women just really falling over R&B singers no more at all. Where in the '90s, that she alluded to was the Genuines, the R. Kellys, the Ushers. Now they looking at them like, who are you?
And you notice Chris Brown even started rapping too a little bit
Chris
in his
Brown
music.
turned to a blood. He started gang banging.
He
Went hardcore.
all the way.
And I mean, women too. Like now, we got the city girls, so we kind of like the rap side. Yeah, Megan. We kind of like the rap side versus the singing side.
Dude, are you a fan of the City Girls?
I wouldn't say I'm a fan, but I do listen to their music from time to time.
What do you get out of the music? Entertainment is entertainment, but what entertains you about their content?
I just like how women can just be wholeheartedly themselves when they listen to it.
You said they can what?
Just be wholeheartedly themselves, whether that's ratchet or not. Like, I think you turn on the City Girls and we're not like doing it for men. We're like dancing for ourselves, and we just like the energy of just what they bring as women.
You don't think it's for men, being that it's in a male-dominated genre, and you have to have the male co-sign it be viable at all?
Nah.
If you think about any superstar female rapper, can you name one that hasn't had to have a male co-sign?
That hasn't
Or
had
that
to
male
have
energy
a male.
behind them to survive? Like Cardi B couldn't survive if she wasn't attached to certain men. We go back even further.
Oh, you mean like as far as just them personally?
Yeah.
I'm not too sure.
Like when City
Cause
Girls.
I mean, who's the OG? Lil Kim.
Yeah,
she
she
had to
had
have a
Biggie.
man.
Biggie, Junior Mafia.
But I think that's the shift though, because of course they have to have like their managers, whoever is like in charge of them. But now it's kind of like if you watch their video, you know, what is it? What's the song with Cardi B? It's like a song with City Girls and Cardi B. I don't really listen to it.
twerking.
The one where they were twerking.
But
But there's no man in that video whatsoever. It's just all women dancing wholeheartedly themselves, and that just kind of stuck out to me.
When they
'Cause
dance,
I'm not even like a hip hop fan.
When they dance like
But-
that, who you think, when a woman's out there twerking, what attention do you think she's trying to get a girl to say, go ahead, you're strong, great job? Or you think she's trying to get a man to say, look at that ass, ooh, I love
No.
that ass?
I think the mindset for women is shifting. Nowadays with this whole feminist movement, it's women thinking, oh, I'm going to do this to empower myself. Whereas like they're doing it for themselves and they don't want to. Because now the whole thing is you'll see videos on Twitter where women are dancing by themselves in the club.
That shit look lonely as hell.
A guy will walk up behind them and then the women will just be like, oh, no. And like push them away.
That's not new though. That was going on when I was trying to dance with girls in 8th grade. They just look at me like I was a nigga who rode the bus. You know what I'm saying? That's not new.
Maybe.
I was just saying, like,
The
are you into
I think
feminists?
the message is kind of the message is kind of like, okay, we doing it for us. We don't want to do it for men, kind of, yeah.
And that's empowering. Like when you
For-
say
for
doing
the
it
women.
for them, when they say doing it for what exactly are they doing?
Just having fun, just being themselves, being free.
And that's what they consider empowering.
That's what I've seen, yeah.
Are you into the feminist movement?
I can't answer that because I'm a journalist and I'm
Not a
objective.
journalist, not your guest on this TCK podcast.
I have to since this is gonna be out public.
Well, you just answered it.
Nah, I can't answer, but I will say that I know about the feminism movement, just from my own personal research.
Like the origins of it, how it was used to
Well,
degrade the black community.
I know the origins of it as far as like Black history, because it didn't start in SNCC, right?
I'm not familiar with the organization.
Kind of like the NAACP, but back in the day, they had like white women with the black people, and white women kind of branched off and said, well, we want to start our own thing. But black women were telling them, well, you as a white woman have more privileges than me as a black woman, so I can't be with that feminism stuff. And so that's kind of how it started, because then these women branched off using our platform as black people to start like the feminism movement.
Do you feel like black women are oppressed in America?
Oh yeah.
Where do you
Of
think
course.
black women are oppressed at? In relation to black men in particular?
Well, I don't like to compare apples and oranges, but you know, women are viewed as less than men. So being a black woman, you got two strikes against you. Because
In what context are you women viewed as lesser than men?
You can think about it from a professional standpoint. If you think about it from a world viewpoint, You know, I think if we were to go to any other country that kind of practices anti-black sentiments, they'll look at you, a black man, and go, ugh. But they'll look at me, a black woman, and go, ugh. That's what I think.
You don't think that black women can survive any sort of oppression? They can get through oppression easier than black men in the context of, we can go back to slavery. When men were oppressed, they were beat, legs cut off, even raped. And that's a whole other level of emasculation.
Mm-hmm.
You can fuck your way out of slavery. Like, you can get pregnant by the right white man and your whole life can change. In any society, a woman has always been viewed as a spoil.
As a
trophy,
spoil?
As a spoil. The harshness of slavery, that's how come I always say that they galvanize black women against black men by telling them you are men. You got the two strikes against you, where if you just go statistically through history, where you even go through the police killings, brutalities, you will find your Sandra Bland's, and you will find like a few women sprinkled throughout the men who've been assaulted or killed or tied to back of trucks, dragged. Women are never a threat in a society as a physical threat. Women can be conquered and the whole race can be whited out through, you know what I'm saying, like that. You can't white out a race with black men, but you can. If you go down to South America or Central America, there were dark races who were completely whited out by the white men.
Or in Australia.
Yeah. We still got Aboriginals hiding, you know what I'm saying, a little bit hide places. But my whole thing is that when a woman was raped in slavery, we talked about this before, say the door open in the shed where they got you sleeping at. Y'all know it's 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, white man come here and fuck somebody's wife. And you laying there hoping it ain't my wife today. They come and take your wife. She go in there, she has sex, it's painful to her. But the psychological, the super pain goes to the man where she got to come back there and lay next to him. You know what I'm saying? Now he has no power. He's been totally emasculated in that sense where I gotta have.
But then the woman will. That's rape, though.
I'm not disputing that.
Okay.
I'm glad you pointed out that it was rape.
Like for you, that's psychologically as a black man or a black slave. But for me, that would be
even
physical.
in the context of being raped, it's a natural act. Would you agree? I'm talking about being the sex part. There's nothing unnatural about the sexual union. Where if you take a man,
if it's forced, I think that's kind of unnatural.
It's naturally, but it's forced. It's unwanted, but it's natural. What I'm saying is, a black man try to rebel, so to speak. They catch him, they beat him, and to make an example out of him, they tie him up to some kind of apparatus, bend him over, and rape him in front of everybody. It's rape the same, but it's unnatural. You understand what I'm saying? Like if you get raped, we look at like, damn, she let that white man rape him. We look at Juvie like, man, he got raped. And you know what I'm saying? It's like now we can't respect him at all. You know what I'm saying? Like my whole thing is, just to digress, is that in my opinion, and if I had the time, I could substantiate it with data. The black women being oppressed at a higher rate than black men is totally fiction, propagated by, I'll say even the white powers to be, to cause a rift between us as a people. Because in the history of the world, there's never been anybody who's been brutalized in kind as the black man in America. And it's spiritual, and it has many connotations that date back into even in the history. If you go back to the scriptures and stuff, you think about when in Egypt, when the Israelites was becoming real populous. They went to Egypt with 70 people. By the time they were put in captivity, it was like over 1 million. They only targeted the babies, the black male babies, to kill. They only wanted to kill them because it's the dominance that comes with men. It's a power that's attached to it. When the Messiah was a baby and stuff, they only ordered that all boys under 3 get killed. It was a different connotation because they were scared of the king rising, but it was still the same thing. It's always been the black boy who's been targeted. Being by association, if the black woman sticks with the black man, she incurs the same kind of wrath. But if she can easily separate herself, she can disassociate herself. I don't want nothing to do with them. They violent. I'll just go over here. So it's easier way for her out of it than a black man. Like it's always I can't just be like, okay, if I try to marry into today's society and stuff, they gonna look at me like, what? What are you doing? Get him out of here. But it's more accepted for you. You know what I'm saying? On a big scene. But I think they galvanize the bottom to argue the points and stuff. And they have women out here really thinking they being oppressed. Like if you sit here and you think about all the women you know versus all the black men you know, I'm sorry, just in our culture, and you think about like who's really being oppressed, and you get away from the mainstream points of views and things like that. Like when you say the professional world, it's like what are we really talking about? Like if you go through data, because I actually had this discussion with somebody where I had to go check out the graphs, the statistics and stuff, and it wasn't as like people try to make it seem. And even with that said, we don't even know who's accumulating this data. We just take it at face value. You know what I'm saying? But that I went into a long tangent and shit about that.
Mm-hmm. Your take is interesting. Sounds like the Oppression Olympics.
But the what?
The Oppression Olympics.
Because I just sit back and I just watch them all argue. I already know what time it is. I already know how it's set up. It's just for sake of conversation right here. I already know who the target is, who the enemy of the state is, because we don't want to a physical threat. If they can get us all together and shit, that's how come they like to contain us with sports and things like that and let us entertain them. Because if it was like, if we had pushed against them, that's terrible. The power that we possess, but they just know certain ways to keep us off the line and stuff and keep doing what they're doing. Which leads us to what we was talking about, power. This show wouldn't be shit if I didn't kick this off talking about the world's best, worst show in history. Power, a Starz classic.
So you watch Power?
I am an Empire fan. Sorry, y'all.
What? You still on it? Is you still on today on it?
Not on Power, on Empire, yeah.
You watch all the way up to when he got the dreadlocks, right?
Yeah.
She been suffering longer than us.
Well, you really like it? Like I
season
was on
1 and 2
Empire
of
2 though. I was on Empire 2 in the first, but I just
and then
watched
everyone
her.
fell off like season 2 or 3. But I stayed with it. I liked it.
3.
Yeah.
I
It
was
was
messing
interesting.
with it for a minute, but I just couldn't keep up.
Yeah. So I don't know much about Power. I just see everything on Twitter.
Yeah.
Power. Best worst show ever. For me, this episode was probably the best one of the season, though. I actually like how it kicked off. Anybody who's watching online, gonna watch on YouTube, you must know I'm wearing sunglasses because my eye is bloodshot red, and I refuse to be here looking like a victim. I'm a strong black man. But Power, man, the way that shit kicked off this time, man, I liked it. How Ghost woke up Tariq, man, that look of fear in Tariq's eye was the funniest shit ever, man. What you thought about this episode?
Man, it's a pretty good episode, man. It's like you said, it was probably the best one yet, like you said. But I still just be looking at that shit like, man, this shit was retarded. Like you said, where dude get the kid at the house? That kind of came out of nowhere, you know what I mean? And then
You said what came out of nowhere?
the house.
Yeah.
You know, the house and then whatchamacallit.
Hell yeah.
Lala still got some terrible ass acting. You know, let's not forget that. She can't act to save her motherfucking life. And then shit, Tariq wanted Ghost to teach him the game, but now shit, they said mama gonna teach him.
With that, man, it's just totally backwards, man. The show is like we often say that when they write the night before they record or film.
I swear they do it's like impromptu. It seems like the whole the last 2 seasons was impromptu.
Yeah, man. I just think that it's like I try to predict how things gonna go based on patterns, but I don't know how this show gonna go.
So you don't know what they gonna do. It's like this.
I didn't know that it'll be going until January. Like it's like
Is
15. Yeah, they gonna cut off. They gonna have like a mid-season break like that before they finish it up. But it's tough to see how this gonna go. My prediction for people who gonna die, I definitely think Ghost's gonna die. I think Sack's gonna die. I think Lala gonna die.
Those points at this point.
Possibly even Tommy.
Yeah, we count points at this point.
Who Ghost?
Ghost.
Yeah. Hell yeah. Well, hell yeah. We
Points, man.
before I want to talk about you just a little bit before we get into this major topic. We haven't been thematic in since we haven't had just a thing to talk about recently, but with so much going on with the Amber Geiger murder of Botham John, depending on who you was raised at, I definitely want to focus on a little bit more than we have recently. You a journalist.
Mhm.
How you get into journalism?
Oh, just well, actually, I started when I was like 9. So I went to. Are you from here?
I'm from Anderson.
Anderson. Oh, y'all both from Anderson. So in Indianapolis, I grew up. I went to Wayne Township School Districts, and we had like broadcasted morning announcements. So I was like in 4th grade when they had them, but like only 6th graders were allowed to be on the show. But the guy who was in charge of it saw me, said, "Hey, she seems smart. She can read and write well. I'm gonna put her on the show."
Speak well.
Yeah,
Read and write well.
Yeah.
Read and write well, not speak well.
Yeah.
But he liked my personality too, and so he put me on there because 6th graders, they closer to middle schoolers, so they get all self-conscious. I didn't. I just went on there and just was myself, and I guess I made everybody laugh. So then from there, I seen a documentary in middle school, CNN, Black in America, hosted by Soledad O'Brien, and I just remember like me and my parents kind of standing in front of the TV watching this television program. And then by the end of the program, my parents were kind of done with it. They were like, "Ah, that was cute," but I was still like glued to the screen because I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so interesting." Then from there, I just said, "I want to be a journalist."
What interested you about that? Because I remember, because
this was like when Obama was becoming president.
Yeah. What interested you in that show in particular?
Well, just from that program, you didn't really see a lot of, or at least me growing up, I didn't see a lot of programming like that. It might have been available, but that was like my first view into, okay, this is how America is portraying Black people. They're sharing our stories, and Black in America in particular was a documentary that showcased different aspects of the Black experience. Because most people, they just look at the Black experience and say, oh, it's probably just this one abstract thing, but we come in like different shapes, different sizes, different hues, and we have different backgrounds and different stories. And when I saw that, I saw, oh, this is interesting, and I connected to it. But then as well, like I looked at Soledad O'Brien and I said, okay, well, her background, because she's Cuban, her father's white as well, and kind of seeing like, okay, well, what's her story?
Is her father white?
Yeah, her father's white. I'm not too sure. I think he's German, not too sure. But yeah, so I kind of saw her and how she kind of led the storytelling, and I said I want to do exactly what she's doing. So.
Prior to that, what was your experience just like in like race?
Not a lot. So my dad actually owned a business on the west side of Indianapolis. So I grew up majority around Black people, and I think I saw the better side of what Black people wish they had now, like ownership, Black ownership, people owning their own businesses, people owning their own homes, because that's something that my parents prided themselves on. And I think after, kind of growing up, you kind of see now the shift is, oh, we got to get Black entrepreneurship back. And I'm so used to that. I'm like, oh, I didn't know that this was a problem, that, yeah, like Black people don't know how to do business, or Black people don't know how to, kind of get out of this cycle of oppression that they've been in for so long. So my identity with race was just kind of seeing my father interact with Black people, because he had a motel on the west side of Indianapolis, but that motel was kind of like a home for people, like people would pay, but he was the type of man that would allow, if you needed a place to stay, like you can come to this motel and my family would take care of you.
So you saying up to the point of watching the Black in America, when you say you didn't know that Black people didn't know how to do business or get business?
Well, I'm saying like now I see that this is the topic that most people talk about when it comes to Black people. Like when you think about Black economics or Black finance, Black education now, it's like a big topic. When I was a kid, of course, I didn't know. So all I knew when I was a kid was I had a good education myself. I wasn't like thinking about other people. And then of course watching Black in America is watching other people's experience, If you're watching somebody who's African, their experience is going to be totally different than somebody who's African American. If you're watching somebody who grew up in the hood versus somebody who grew up a little well off. Somebody who decided to go to an HBCU versus somebody who decided to go to a PWI. That's what I'm talking about.
What high school did you attend?
Ben Davis.
Ben Davis.
Yeah.
Ben Davis pretty had a nice mix. A lot of kids in Harville with Ben Davis.
Yeah.
Was that your first interaction with black people from the quote unquote hood?
Nah. I mean, I went to a private school, but it was private black. It was like a black school.
So it you know the boule is.
Yeah.
So you think it's kind of like
I mean, my
boule type
family,
shit?
but yeah, slightly.
Yeah.
See, my story is a little different only because, like, I was adopted, one.
Yeah.
So I kind of have two coins of the spectrum because my birth family, of course, comes from another side of the tracks, whereas the family I grew up with were more well off, you know? And I think my parents tried to instill in me, like, the importance of, okay, still being proud of who you are, which is being black. So I went to a private school, yes, but like a private black school, you know? And then, like, when I would go hang out with my biological family, because it was kind of like an open adoption, I was getting like I was like learning a lot, like pretty much kind of understanding where they come from when it comes to like trying to survive out here, you know, because they didn't get the same educational background or they didn't get the same background, period. So, you know, I'm over here having fun with my parents, having full course meals, but then I go hang out with my cousins and I'm like learning how to fight. We eating sugar rice, which is good, by the way. And then that's like a different experience that I had to learn. And
For
try
people
to
listening, sugar rice isn't reserved for the people in poverty. Taste buds know no poverty.
It doesn't at all.
What? Are you still close with both families now, or?
Yeah, actually, my biological family lives here. My family, like my mom, is like back home in Texas, and then like her side of the family, they all down here in Texas. But yeah, I'm still close. Like I hang out with them all the time, and they kind of look at me kind of like, oh, she's the successful one. But I kind of want to like, when I was in South Bend, I was a news reporter in South Bend. I would always come back, and I would want to like take my cousins up there. And I always wanted to, you know, but until like, you know, my contract ended there. But like I always wanted to bring them up there. Or like if I ever came back to Indianapolis, I would always visit them and be like, well, what do y'all want to do when y'all grow up? How can I help make that happen? Whether that's my success or not.
How do you define success?
That's a hard question. I can't define success at all. Not right now. To me, success is like when you are okay with not having society view as success. Because society's view is all about you either got top money or you doing what you love to do or you got clout, whatever the case may be. And I think my definition of that would be like opposite of that. So I can't really define it, but I'd say success for me is just if you just wholeheartedly happy. And it takes a lot to get to that place of happiness.
I'm glad you said that though, because a lot of people, I hold that same sentiment to a T. My definition of success is happiness, and my happiness isn't predicated on myself alone, but with who I can help. If I can help somebody else be happy and stuff, that contributes to my happiness.
Yeah.
Usually the things we consider successful are success by other people's standards.
Mm-hmm.
When you see people who do music, like you can get into music and stuff just because you love it. But then when people start mentioning who has Grammys, who has American music, who has Billboard Awards, you start realigning your vision of success and you start trying to define your success by other people's standards. If you feel like you failed as a person because you don't win a Grammy, that's messed up to me, because it's not what you actually wanted. Like when most people first start doing what they love, whether it's music, acting, journalism, being a doctor, you're not actually doing it to win an award. That's something that develops later on because other people are gauging your success by their standards.
And that's definitely for the journalism industry. So.
Well, are your adopted parents they black too?
Yes.
Okay.
Everyone always asks that.
I asked that because when you said I grew up around black people, it's just like,
yeah,
what?
my dad, he was a black man, black owned, everything.
What you know about the boule?
I can't get into that.
You certainly can.
I am a journalist. I have no opinion. Oh, the boule?
Don't give him your opinion. Just let him know what it is.
You want to ask him because technically, there's two definitions for it. It depends on who you ask.
So if I ran to you in the street and I was like, "Hey, what's the boule?" You gonna say, "I can't tell you what the boule is."
Well,
I'll run it down to you real quick. Boule is like
black elite.
the alleged upper class of Black America.
Oh, okay.
It's like
that controls their narrative, but it's been said that they don't control it in a way that benefits the black
These
people.
people
It's
so
like the
called
black
exist.
people who was too good, wasn't good enough to be white, but wasn't bad enough to be poor black.
That's what some people
Is this
say.
like an organization like they so called exist or just like
No, it's a real.
like
I mean, this is
a-
where the fraternities and things
Okay.
originate. All the fraternities
I
and
figured
sororities.
just like a group
It
of
was
people
like,
that
and
do
hold on,
it.
I'm gonna give my say in it. She leads me to think she'll oppose it. The black fraternities, the Greeks and all, things of that sort, the black people wasn't accepting into the white fraternities, so they created their
Oh,
own.
that's the blue light.
Yeah, I mean that's like
It's part of the blue
because
light.
I can't remember, like it's people like Webb Du Bois. He was one,
W.E. Du Bois.
and if you want to be, if you want to correct me and shit, you know, I'll read it in one word.
Yeah.
But they call it the black elite. A lot of them are Freemasons, Prince Hall Freemasons.
Yeah.
Uh,
Like the Baker Day,
I don't know
the
about
Gucci
that.
stuff.
I don't know about
That's
that shit.
completely different.
But the thing is, like,
But they associate, like, you know, Jack and Jill kids,
yeah,
like kids who are in elite clubs to help advance those black people. And they say that, you know,
they
but
do
you're
not
supposed to
respect new
reach
money.
back. You're supposed to come back and, you know, that's actually interesting. I don't know if I should share this, but I couldn't be a Jack and Jill kid. They kind of denied my parents
Yeah.
me entry because my mom actually comes from old money. My great grandfather actually founded Jarvis Christian College, which is a small HBCU in East Texas. But my dad grew up very poor. This man had to wear jeans from the time he was 8 to the time he was 14.
The same period.
The same pair of jeans. I don't know how he did it, but that's the story that they
Oh,
told
they
me.
lied to me.
No,
that's
that's
that
the
10
story
feet of
that they
snow.
told me.
That's
That's the
that
story they
10
told
feet
me.
of snow 2 miles story.
What black parents always say. But the thing is, me growing up, I never saw my dad in jeans. He always wore slacks. My dad was always in a suit. That's just the type of man that he was. And he was always the type of person that he wanted to be respected. Period, point blank. But, you know, when he came to Jack and Jill, they kind of denied, you know, the application for me when I was a kid because they said, well, you're okay, but we don't really know about your husband. And so because my dad, like you said, came from new money, he like hustled his way to the top without a college education. I don't know how he did it, but he was just a serial entrepreneur that was able to own a lot of what he had. And I never had to want for nothing.
Some dudes like that. Most
Yeah.
dudes today don't.
But it wasn't good enough. Pretty much, it wasn't good enough for them. So,
Because a lot of people don't know what the boule is, man. They don't know.
but they do give back.
It's give back, but it seems like, from my perspective, the give back is a status thing to look a certain way. It's like the look at me, I'm giving back.
It can be perceived that way.
A lot of people don't understand, but it's something to look into if you have your journals. It'll be something for you, a good investigation piece. The Black Boule, namely Webb or W.E.B. Du Bois, they was complicit in Marcus Garvey's failure.
Yeah.
Very complicit. They were galvanized by the white groups. Like it's like what they do. These are the black people they go to check the other black people, to keep Black America in check.
And W.E.B. Du Bois was a colorist.
Yeah.
He was all for light skin
So the also
privilege,
be like one of those.
and he didn't like Marcus Garvey at all.
And ironic, the irony in with Du Bois is after he became disillusioned with America and how they really used him, he ended up retiring to and dying in Africa.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing about that right there. But I heard a quote from Dick Gregory who said that he said the main black person, say a doctor who's against any sort of black revolution, ends up being the person they put in charge of it once the black revolution like starts to take legs. Like they'll take him, the person who was against it, and make him like the head of black health or something like that. It's just how they play us, man. It's the chessboard to where we all were in poverty at some time. We all were the descendants of slaves at some time, but what they always do, they prop one side up and leave one side down. That's what creates a division. And it's sad because it's not something that's new. I mean, it's happening today as far as the money things. And I want to get this little fast tidbit. I did announcements in school before too. I did this shit
I can't
too.
imagine.
My shit, listen, I had about a good 2-month run, and they gave me the boot. because I made fun of the
When you
football
were a
team.
kid? Oh, gosh.
I was in high school.
See, that's what
I was
happens.
freshman.
Journalism is supposed to be objective, so you can't be making fun of people.
And I knew one day they was going to have podcasts. So I knew I could do whatever I wanted to on my own platform one day.
Okay, amen.
But no, that got me out of here. And I want to talk about that. It caused me to skip over a lot.
Yeah.
When you into this journalism thing, you have to play, especially when you're working for like a news station. It's a certain set of rules that you have to play by, even if the story you're reporting on affects you emotionally, mentally, or any other way. Mm-hmm. How hard is it for you to disassociate your personal self from like stories that you have to report on? And I really did skip a lot because I really want to know how you got fully into it. But just answer that for me real quick.
It is hard, but I disassociate myself. And I think a part of the reason why that is because maybe my limited experience with the human experience, you know? I feel like for the longest time I kind of been operating in this bubble where it's just, you know, Jade's world, you know, and everybody else just kind of living in it for my consumption. But I had done a story about these apartments where a lot were minority people. There was all type of people, but minority people were living in. They were government assisted housing. And the city had given the owners of this building $14 million to renovate the place. And that was like, I think 7 or a couple of years ago. But the building was completely ruined. It was disgusting. They had mushroom growing out of the walls. They had mold growing out of the walls. It wasn't good. And, you know, people were complaining about it. But see, when it's minorities complaining, then it's just like, well, they need to stop being lazy. They need to get up. They need to, you know, get out of there. But that's not that's not every single person's story, you know? And I think it kind of becomes real when you go out there, because when I was covering the story, I had a couple people talk to me, and it was a lot of like young women who had babies, you know? And that was like a moral dilemma, because I didn't want to put them on camera in fear of, you know, DPS or somebody coming out there, seeing it on the news and being like, oh, well, that's a dangerous situation. Granted, it kind of was a dangerous situation, so we did end up airing it. But it's just things like that, because you can tell that these women, they love their kids. They want their kids to be safe, and they would never like try to put their kids in harm's way. But it's not up to them. It's not their fault that the city paid money to the owners who were supposed to be taking care of these housing units. You know? And I think for me, like when I went home after that story, I was kind of like, dang, this is kind of tough. Like I'm at home in my nice apartment, which my apartment wasn't actually nice to me. I'm used to a certain lifestyle, so then when I see my apartment, I'm kind of like, I'm paying $600 for rent. This place is a dump, but it's like, yo, like I just did a story where people literally are in piles of trash right now, or people are literally like have to move their stuff to the corner of an apartment because the other half of the wall is like splattered with mold, and that just puts a lot of things into perspective, you know. Half the time, I think I just like kind of talk to my mom about it, or like, you know, I realized I did kind of have to go through therapy just to kind of deal with a lot of stuff. And you know, when you kind of sitting there with a therapist and the therapist is looking at you like, dang, this is some crazy stuff. It's like, yeah, right. And then that thing is not right, like at all.
So you had to go to therapy based on the things you saw at your job?
Yeah. As well as like some more personal stuff.
Okay.
But I think mental health is not talked about enough with journalists, because you do got to imagine like nowadays there's this thing called an MMJ, which is a multimedia journalist, which means that you got to go out there by yourself. Back in the day, you know, they used to have camera guys. Some people still got camera guys. But when you starting off in a small market, you kind of got to go by yourself. And if I'm going in a situation where I'm by myself, it can be dangerous, you know? It could always, there was a friend of mine actually who was another reporter. She got a gun pulled out on her.
What was she doing?
She was just telling a story. She was doing her job. This guy rolled up with a gun.
Do you
That's
remember what she was
traumatizing.
reporting on?
I don't know what she was reporting on, but whatever the story was, some guy just walked up to her while she was in the middle of the hood, pulled out his gun, and took her equipment.
Did you feel like she was a victim?
Yeah.
Or did you feel like she was a volunteer? Like, say, for instance, if you go to war and you get shot, do you think... like...
That's an interesting take. You know, I think... Well, dang, I can't put my opinion on it. The conversation...
Boy, if I knew you was going to be censored, I thought we were going to be candid.
I'm gonna say it in a way that's not going to get me in trouble. The conversations that I've heard from other journalists has been, their opinions are, companies would probably look at us like we're volunteers. You signed up for this job. Go out there and do it. It saves us money. We don't have to pay money for a photog. You know? And half the time, sometimes companies don't have money. Or they say they don't have money. And if the companies don't have money because they say journalism is a dying industry, then we're doing what we're loved, but at the expense of our lives. And I think it's bad, but it's like, it might take... Go ahead.
It's kind of like how, you know, when Deontay Wilder said he was going to kill dude in the ring, and they started making a big deal out of it. But it was like, okay, like this could happen regardless of him saying it or not, you know what I mean?
Right,
so
right.
the fact that they made a big deal out of it was like, trying to say like, oh, like he being victimized because Deontay Wilder said he was going to kill him, but I'm like, they about to box. So shit happened, and then, you know what I mean?
Then it shouldn't happen because I think we should be safer.
No, what he's saying though is like Deontay Wilder's a professional fighter. People have got killed in the ring, but he said I'm going here to kill. That's what he said.
Like
So they get offended by him saying that, but it's something that could actually happen because it's part of his job. You know what I'm saying? But it's like if he vocalized it, then there's something wrong with it. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, you talking about like as far as me?
No. We talking about this fight, but he's using that just as a comparison type thing to where we know that a journalist can get killed, but nobody wants to hear she can get killed.
Right.
You know
Yeah. No, then I totally. Yeah, that's how it is. Then, you know. But she had, you know, vocalized it, and she got a lot of support and everything. But the talks are kind of like, okay, well, what is it going to take? Because you have journalists who are getting assaulted out here every single day, and you have people who look at us and say, oh, fake news. And the way that people view the media, I mean, we kind of aren't safe out here. There's a lot of crazy people out here, and if you put that in people's mindsets that, oh, journalists can't be trusted, then the next time you do see somebody who's just trying to do their job, anything can happen.
And it's crazy that you mentioned that. What we know that some people add a lot of fluff and a lot of do it, especially, damn. You mentioned that journalism is a dying industry. Do you attach that to like written journalism, like newspapers?
I think all of it. It's been said about all of it because you know television news, that's not paying a lot of money. That's the talks that we say. And then when it comes to, you know, if you're writing, that's not paying a lot for publications, newspapers. Well, see, Twitter's not news though. That's the thing.
Yeah, it can be news.
It can be,
News
but
is anything that's important.
It depends on.
We utilize it,
okay.
but at the same time, and I think that's why some companies are going more digital because they're like, we see that their vision is like, oh, we need to go digital because that's where the world is going. Whereas some people still have the traditional sense of, no, we like support local news, it matters, which it does matter. But as far as like everyone saying like it's a dying industry, it's not a dying industry. People are always going to need journalists. It just gets misconstrued when you have bloggers who say they're journalists, or you have influencers who say that they're journalists. So there's a difference.
Okay.
The difference is a blogger, I can blog something and say, oh, y'all, the Conceited Knowbody podcast is great. I love it. And that's not journalism. Mm-hmm. Journalism would be like, oh, I want to talk about what y'all are, the facts about it. Never an opinion.
Do you think editorialists, you don't consider them journalists?
Well, you know, for newspapers, if they have like certain spots where people can be opinionated, there's spaces where people can be opinionated. That's just like media literacy. People don't know the difference between the two. And that's why, like, you watch the news, you watch Fox News, you watch CNN, you watch MSNBC, you'll see opinionated shows and think, oh my gosh, that's news. No, that's not news.
Excuse me.
I say that.
That's a good ass point. Go ahead.
I ask you that because there are, I follow some boxing pages on Twitter that they actually growing a pretty big following just based on like the, you know, stuff that, you know what I mean,
big content.
Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's the only reason I ask.
No, I totally get, and that's a questions that a lot of people ask, because I think, you know, nobody teaches media literacy in school. Like, literally, it feels like journalists, we are like in our own little bubble, and nobody really understands or knows our world, because one, we never share it, and two, like, if we don't share it or at least try to educate the people, then of course you are going to get those articles, or you're going to get those comments where people are like, oh, say her name. There's a reason why people can't say certain names in article headlines. But that's something that you have to educate the people. And I think as journalists, we can't get upset that people aren't educated. We got to actually educate them. Because as journalists, we are the watchdogs. We're supposed to be the people that look out for the people. We're the ones who look out for everyone. We're the ones who are supposed to hold people in power to a certain standard and hold them accountable for what they do. That was originally our intent in our jobs, but it's been misconstrued throughout history. And, you know, that's because of a lot of different reasons.
And I'm sure you're familiar with the President Kennedy. When he's talking about, it was a speech that it's all over the internet, where he's talking about the freedom of press, where he's talking about how the press shouldn't be regulated to speaking on or reporting on stiffness or agendas, where he's talking about they should be able, because he was saying the same thing, where they should be able to, you know what I'm saying, critique the powers that be and stuff without fear. We all know what freedom of press is.
Yeah.
The idea of that is good, but how many people have you, and we don't have to say names or instances, but have you come in contact or in situations where you've seen situations where it was, I don't know what word I'm looking for, but just unfair reporting or influence reporting?
Oh, of course. All the time.
You do?
All the time.
And usually are these the people that progress?
You know what? That's interesting. Yeah. They usually are the ones who progress. Because, I don't know, people will follow people. There's leaders and followers. And people swear they're leaders when they're really not. They have a sheep that follow them. Sadly, you know? And there's nobody to come to the forefront and say, hey, this girl is not a journalist. Hey, this guy is not a reporter. And if we do, it's just kind of like, oh, you guys are hating. It's like, nah, there's an important job and an important role that we play, and it can't be filtered out by people who have big followings just because they have a voice and share their opinions.
Have you ever thought about compromising your integrity in these situations in order to advance?
Nah.
Yeah.
It's been said. I've seen people do that. It's been done, but not me. I can't.
What motivates you to maintain your integrity? And especially when, matter of fact, let me back it up. What's your goal in being a journalist?
See, I have no idea. All I know right now is that I just love to tell a story. Most people, we graduate, we want to get to network, or we want to be in a top market, or we want to go back home. For me, Indianapolis is home. So this is a top market. It's a top 30 market. And it's kind of like, oh, I want to be here. So people kind of make goals, whatever they may be. And that might be my aspiration. I'm not too sure. I'm sure, like, as I go along, I want to advance. But wherever I go, I want to make sure I'm going to be in a place where there is a need for me as a black woman, as a black journalist, and that I can help people. Because if I'm just anywhere where I'm just kind of sharing any type of information, then for me it's kind of like, well, what's my purpose here? You know, besides just filling a station spot. I want to be someplace where I'm here for a reason. Regardless of what's going on inside the station, when I walk out that door, there's a community that I need to cover, and that's my purpose.
What avenue do you want to take? Like, they say that the journalism industry is dying. Mm-hmm. We know that, as I said, any kind of paper print is almost over. It's almost over.
Not really. But it's not. It's just not what it used to be.
You don't think it's almost over for newspapers?
We always gonna need a need for newspapers.
But when I say paper print, they have online newspapers.
Now it's called publications.
It's always been publications.
Huh?
It's always been publications.
Well, online publications is what I mean. Nah. But someday we are gonna look at newspapers, and they're probably gonna be in a museum somewhere. And then it's gonna be like, oh, I remember my dad used to open that up and read it.
So you yourself, where can you see yourself if you being somebody who think ahead in the future and stuff? We see the trend of how news reporting is going. Like it or not, bloggers are, held at high esteem. And just to go back to what you were saying about how you can have an opinion show, the Nancy Grace type thing, where people don't understand that she is solely based on her take, her opinion, and they take it as like legit news, where they can be angry. Like, I never understood how you can be angry at somebody's opinion when you said Bill O'Reilly up at Fox, Like people used to really be upset and angry about his personal takes. How can you compete with that? Because everything is based on fame and popularity. When you trying to be somebody who has integrity, like in the news industry, how valuable is integrity nowadays?
Well, I think for me personally, I was kind of blessed with like building my brand in college. That had nothing to do with journalism, but now that I am a journalist, it's switched. And so now I have people who follow me who understand the difference because I've been teaching them that for so long just from them following me. And so overall, I think I want to be that person that like teaches media literacy, that teaches people the difference in a sense, so that if you're not gonna, and you can still follow who you want to follow, but know the difference, to be educated about it.
And lead me to this right here. In a world that is impelled to follow popularity, how important is the truth as opposed to being feeling, had that warm and fuzzy feeling? Because the truth is the truth is deadly to some people's conscience, to their psyche, like they can't handle the truth. So how viable do you think that is to, like, we know as people who have a conscious mind thinking that the truth is the most important thing you can give, but when we're in a society where people are more concerned about salacious things or things that are just entertaining as opposed to the truth, how far do you think you can go with that?
I think in a world of darkness, you gotta have a light somewhere. Otherwise, everybody just gonna be bumping into each other. That's my opinion.
I agree with that. I mean, I agree with that wholeheartedly and stuff because I'm an advocate of the truth no matter who's telling it. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, man. It's like if I was to stand on the tallest building in the world and just look out on humanity, should I have a very distasteful disposition of what I see? You know what I'm saying? If I had to report on what I seen, man, it'd be real disappointing. Like I was like, damn, all these good women out here feeling uplifted and empowered by the city girls. What can I do? You know what I'm saying? Like this is the reality of the world shit, to where instead of finding somebody who's actually providing, like if we was to just, if I don't get into the whole empowerment thing, but if I was to choose a role model for my daughter, and I was
They exist, they're out there.
No, listen what I'm saying. And I was looking around, and I see you as a journalist, somebody who's working hard, and then I see the city girls.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that the city girls have way more bigger influence than you will have.
Mm-hmm.
That's disheartening to me. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what's being, I don't know, it's hard to navigate in that kind of world and stuff where people can look at the city girls and be like, yeah, they made my day better because they was out here twerking with Cardi B. And like that's empowering and shit, and I want my daughter to be the weakest woman in the world. If that's what is going to empower her. But I don't know, man. What 5 years from now, we in a time machine. Where is Jade the journalist?
I'm probably at network someplace. Jet setting across America, if not internationally, the world. Telling stories that matter. If not that, then I'm definitely owning a few of my own businesses. Because I feel like there's a lot of problems that can be said with journalism. And as an entrepreneur, I have like a lot of ideas for solutions.
As an entrepreneur, how easy is it to strike out on your own as a journalist? Like we have the YouTube where people get popular off YouTube. Say for instance, if you were to just,
But I can't do that.
why can't you?
Like strict contracts. As a journalist, it's kind of frowned upon if you're like a YouTube star, because it's like it can't correlate. It's frowned upon if you're a Instagram influencer, you know, because that goes to pay.
Is that like the shade room? That's what you consider them as?
No, just like if you know Instagram models. Like if
Oh,
people, if people were giving me products to promote on Instagram, it's easy for someone to say, oh, she getting paid by Fashion Nova. And then let's say Fashion Nova's CEO came out and was like, said the N-word. Then if I had to cover the story, people couldn't trust that I'd do it because they'd be like, oh, she getting paid money for it. No.
Mm-hmm.
So then my credibility's dead, you know? Mm-hmm. It kind of feels like when you're a journalist, you have to just be a journalist.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where it's kind of tough.
Do you feel like you limit yourself then by just being a journalist?
I feel like a lot of people feel that way who are journalists because I've talked to them about it. But you just got to figure out who you are and remember that you're pretty much not your job. Like, you're a human being. You're your own person. You were you before you were a journalist.
Right.
So understanding that.
I said earlier that I wanted to delve a little bit more into this little Amber Geiger case. And being that you're a journalist, I can get a different take on this than I will from anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
How, first off, man, I don't know if I can adequately talk about this. We all know that an innocent man was killed, allegedly in the state. I think that things always surface as far as the truth. Months, even years, even decades down the line of what happened. She killed a man, sent sex messages to somebody she was supposed to meet up after, show no contrition, whatever. We gotta understand what country we in and how things go. She was found guilty, got 10 years. The judge gave her a hug and a Bible. The courtroom officer straightened out her hair, pat her on the back. The victim's family hugged her, embraced her, cried, said they didn't want her to get any time. One of the jurors who didn't want to be a part of the jury, I won't reduce him to a juror, Joshua Brown. He was killed a couple of days ago, if I'm not mistaken. They found 3 young black guys who were allegedly buying drugs from him. Said they were the ones that killed him. It's all, I don't believe in coincidences or things to that nature. How this right here, man, it's all bullshit too. And
It definitely is, man.
I'm definitely not going through how I intended to, because I want to get your take on a few things. If you were reporting on this, I'm talking to you, Jade, and you were sitting in, say you were in the courtroom, and you see the judge hug the murderer and hand her a Bible, what would be your immediate reaction if you had to report this? Like, would that stood out to you as a journalist?
As a person, it would have stood out. As a journalist, I'm just there to report what happened. So if I saw it, I'd be like, oh, the judge is now hugging Amber Geiger. Oh, the guard is now asking the other female guard to come hug Amber Geiger. Oh, the guard is patting Amber Geiger's head. Like, it would kind of just be, I just have to state it. See, journalists, I can't react. That's the thing. I am just there to give the facts, and I let people like you react. So it's like, y'all have to. But it's interesting because I was actually in Dallas when this initially happened last year, and I was interning at WFAA Channel 8, which is, legacy station that's down there that's been covering this story. So kind of to be interning at a news station, I kind of saw the conversations that were going on as far as the editorial meetings go. And it was some interesting talks about, like, what do y'all think's going on? Now, of course, privately people talk, and it's pretty much the same conversations y'all be having. Just, this don't sound right, or this don't look right, or oh, that's awful, or oh, I can't believe it. And it's just like, yeah.
I'm kind of like, it's just like, I'm kind of lost of words, because I just couldn't imagine, like, having to be that, and it's just for lack of a better word, no disrespect, but that robotic to what's going on. When you write, because I write a little bit here and there, have you ever, like, do you do print meetings? Like, do you write it off?
Well, yeah, we have to write, like, our web stories and stuff.
When you write, do you use subtle, like, wording or certain things to, like, put yourself in there just a little bit?
Like, imagine taking out adjectives, like beautiful or great or perfect. I just tell it. It's not being robotic. I can react when I go home.
Now I'm talking about the context of the job.
Yeah,
like,
but in context of the job, that's my job, is to not react. That's my job, is to just tell the story.
How would, but we know you get influenced with certain actors. Say, for instance, if you say, and shockingly, the judge hugged Amber Geiger.
Now, see, the bigger station, the networks, they can say that because they're opinionated. But like a local news, like, no, we can't say. And shockingly, they did that,
but
because then that's me putting it. it can't be about me though.
I
That's the
mean,
difference.
just to anyone just viewing the situation, a judge hugging a lady who was just convicted.
Now I can
killing
say
unarmed
this hasn't been seen before.
Okay.
I can say that, but I can't say, oh, shockingly, she's hugging. Like, I can't do that.
But and you said this hasn't been seen before. Do you think that could be deemed influential or persuasive?
No, because it's fact. As long as it's fact,
But
then that's journalism.
If something is shocking, that could be fact too, right?
Nah. Because shocking is subjective. What could be shocking to you might be, to me, oh, that's sweet. See the difference? Like, a lot of people who saw that Amber Geier situation with the judge and the police officers said, that is so sweet. Or with his brother, oh, that is so sweet. He forgave her. That would be me. And so me as a journalist, if I said that to you, you'd be like, sweet? Excuse me? Like, that, what? So because I'm black, I have to like just forgive this person. It couldn't be me. Whereas, let's say I said shockingly. Oh, shockingly, Amber Geier is getting the preferential treatment as a white woman in America. Because this is unseen before.
Shockingly sweet.
If I said that, then the people who view it as that's nice in a religious context or in a just a simple context of, oh, that's nice, he forgave her. Isn't that what we all want to do as Americans? Then I'm literally blocking out those people who are also my audience as well.
Just what if you said a shockingly sweet gesture?
A shockingly sweet gesture? That's interesting, but you just want to avoid it. But that's actually
like if you said, or if you were to use shockingly, what was your your management, your supervisor, the people who run the paper, what would they say as a response to you putting shocking?
they'd say, why are you putting like an adjective to that?
Okay,
That's like your own opinion. So just I know it's a hard concept.
It's
But
not
it's
a hard
literally
concept.
like-
I understand.
You
When
just
you
gotta
work in
like
corporate
be
America.
yeah.
How? And this, like
But
that,
it's interesting you said shockingly sweet, because that would actually, I'm thinking, maybe that could work. But I'm also a young MJ, so I'd have to ask like one of my mentors about that.
do you like that structure? Like, do you like being under so much structure to where you have to? So you like that structure?
I like reporting the news.
Hey, you damn near a fucking robot, Android and shit. That shit was kind of scary.
I like reporting the news. I can say a lot of people that I talk to, for us, the joy is getting out of the station, and actually just telling the stories that matter. But there's a lot of people I know who do not like that structure and concept.
Yeah.
But it's like, I love news reporting.
Are you currently with the news team right now?
Right now, I'm just freelancing, but I do have a couple opportunities that are coming up, which is why if anyone's watching this, I am objective because I'm a journalist.
I had a
don't know
follow-up
nothing about the
question.
journaling world.
What you said?
I said I don't know nothing about the journaling world, so I'm learning a lot.
Yeah, it's interesting. And something else too that's funny is because I being a black news reporter, it'll be something as simple as like if I gotta go out and cover a story that involves black people, if it's said in a certain way, it's like if like how you just got like, what, you can't say shocking. It was shocking. If I was just neutral, sometimes for black people, I've had to educate them to say, listen, I'm not gonna put anything negative on what's happening. I'm just gonna report it. So I'm not trying to have an agenda, pretty much. Because, see, the thing is, sometimes it can be hard when you do have certain companies that push certain agendas. And as a journalist, you got to kind of tell your manager, that's not how that goes. Because there'll be moments where you're sitting down in a meeting and somebody might not understand the culture that is African-American culture. So they might say something that's dismissive, or they might say something and you have to correct them. I'll say that, like, I've been in situations where I've had to correct certain people, or I've had to educate certain people because they don't know, or they're very ignorant to the situations at hand. And I had to explain to people, you can't, say that, because think about it. See how that would look if we put that on air,
Have you ever been overridden in a position like that?
Because I wouldn't do it. And the thing that's also very important to me is like the shape, because people don't realize journalists, we shape and frame. The media shapes and frames the minds of people. Why do black people feel the way that they feel about themselves? What has been historically shown throughout history, either in a newspaper or on television, and now on social media? You can blame the media, you can blame them, but there's no secret that the media can shape and frame that. So when it comes to shaping and framing, it's almost like if I were to do a story about this guy broke into a store and stole some money. The guy who's the alleged robber is a black guy. Now I can go to the place, right? Interview the person who's the owner, whatever the case may be. And what you don't realize is, like, let's say, because for example, I did like a story about counterfeit. These guys were like using counterfeit money, right? I don't want to. They're already black. That's them. I don't want to put more black people in my story about counterfeit money if I don't have to, if they're not there in the store. You get what I'm saying? Because then subconsciously it's like I'm going to associate black people with counterfeit money, which is a crime. See? And that's just a subconscious thing that I, as a journalist, tend to do, because I'm like, okay, how am I telling this story? Am I being conscious? And it's not just of black people, it's of everybody. How am I being conscious about the white community? How am I being conscious about the Hispanic community? How I say certain things. Do I say Latino or do I say Hispanic? Do I say Latinx? Like or even the LGBTQ community. How do I respect their pronouns, you know? And that comes, as a journalist, it comes with educating yourself. You can't be a journalist if you're not educated about different groups at all. Because to be a journalist means you got to communicate. And it's amazing how so many people don't know how to communicate. So... sorry, I just went on a tirade.
No, it was justified. I definitely couldn't be a journalist under those stipulations.
A lot of people can't, which is why we're amazing.
That's why I like the avenue of social media. I love it. Because I can say what I want to without, regards thinking about a job, who's going to hire me, and things like that. But that's just two schools of thought and two separate desires. If you had a dream job, as far as the country, first off, I want to ask you, would you report like war-torn countries and things like that?
Oh yeah, all the time.
Sand flying in your face, you ducking Scud missiles.
They say, like, if you're willing to die for something, then you must really love it. I don't know if I'm willing to die for journalism, but I definitely would not be afraid to go tell a story, no matter what that story may be.
What if the people in that particular country were offended at if you knew before then the news reporter who you replaced was put under a potato bag and had their head chopped off on TV, would you be?
I would be reluctant. I would be hesitant. But I would ask whoever needs me to tell this story, okay, how important is it to get this information out? And by any means necessary, I want to get the story out. Yeah. Because me getting the story out is going to, like, at least educate so many other people.
What if it's a story that you don't connect with? Like, say something that has no bearing on it. Does that, like...
Oh, yeah, I've done stories like that.
I'm talking about it in danger zone, though. Like, you...
If I don't connect with it?
Like, you have no personal attachments to it. You don't feel nothing. It's just...
Like, if I was in the Middle East?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have...
You report about their election over there. Like,
their election?
Like, say, for instance, do you think you give an adequate description of what's... You know what I'm saying? Like,
I can educate myself about it. Because that's the thing. Like, when you do journalism, you learn so much. I learn something new every single day. And to me, that's fun. Yeah. If it's something I'm like, oh, this is like politics, and I don't particularly like politics, and it's politics that's not even in my country, you gotta, like, sit there. Someone always told me, you better sit there until you care about the story. Because if you don't care about the story, then it's gonna show. And then the audience is gonna be like, she don't care about the story. And then you don't even realize that they might be like, the person that did the story don't even care. Then I don't care about the story. And then that's not doing the story justice. Because somebody cares about that story somewhere. And that's who you're doing the story for. So. Yeah.
Publication or news station that you would like to work for? Where you got your own little half-hour show, things of that sort. And you just the boss. Talk. You got their rabbit
any place that's willing to pay and give me the platform.
Okay, it's fantasy. We just need one.
You think
any place?
Could you have your own? Like, if you had your own?
If I had my own, it would take a minute. It would take time. It would take a lot of money and a lot of investment. But I can see myself owning that or doing something like that in the future.
Yeah.
Because I think it's needed. You know what I mean? You got Tyler Perry owning studios. I think we do. Here's the thing. What y'all don't realize, like, Wish TV Channel 8 here is owned by a black billionaire who actually graduated from Ben Davis High School, too.
Who is this?
I don't remember his name, which is shameful of me. But
He
he's a
graduated
billionaire.
from high school and he was the same color as you.
And
I'm
he was.
disappointed.
What you say? I'm disappointed. Why
He
you
went to your school.
disappointed?
He went to your school.
You don't like Ben Davis?
No, you.
No, I'm saying you went to Ben Davis. So I'm disappointed in you.
I just started. This man like 40 years old.
He still went to your school though. Like he should be in the rafters or something. His jersey retired. His microphone.
I think maybe he does have something. I'm not too
They
sure.
don't say shit about him.
I don't know. All I know is when I saw it, I thought that was interesting, and I was
But
like,
for the record, I
wow.
don't like Ben Davis.
Why you don't like
They
Ben
put
Davis?
us out to semi-state 2 years in a row of basketball.
I'm dead.
But
Well, I ain't been in high school in years. We were talking about it. I'm a Ben Davis giant for life, even though I'm 4'11" and
but yeah, I feel like I was about to say something, but
a half. And you forgot about it.
And I hate that shit.
Well, I hope, did I teach y'all something?
Oh yeah, you know.
I'll be honest, I didn't learn much.
Oh gosh.
It's hard to learn when you know it all. But go
You
ahead.
call it,
No, I'm playing. No, but I was kind of shocked, you know, that you even knew what the boule was, though. Because a lot of people
Oh,
don't know
yeah.
what the boule is.
Yeah, my family is an interesting family.
Yeah.
And
What sorority were you in a sorority?
I am not in any sorority.
Would that help you advance as you being in one?
I don't think so because I think I'm able to like get any type of advancement on my own. But I've seen people advance because of their connections.
There it is. First off, this is. I think you probably. I was lying when I said I didn't learn anything. I was being.
Because I was like, hey man,
No,
I
I mean,
talked about journalism.
It's a whole nother
Like,
perspective and things.
you
but
know?
I'm looking at it from the aspect of you just.
and trying to be objective about it, but still educate us. But this is good because it's like teaching me, okay, how can I better like educate people about it as well? You know, because this is something that I'm truly passionate about. You know, and I know it doesn't sound ideal to some people, and it might not be ideal. That might be the truth of the reality that journalists have to face, and that we probably do face, but we got to face silently or we face alone or whatever the case may be. I don't know what's going to be happening to the industry in a couple of years, but all I know is that it's important to get those stories out.
What I did want to ask was one more thing.
Yes.
Who was your favorite journalist?
Ooh, me. No, just kidding. I like me though. So there's this
You read
guy.
your stories over and like when you
I actually do. Yes, I actually be watching
That's
myself when I look at my old reel and look at my stories. I be like, oh wow. I really love Shamari Stone, who works for NBC Washington. I've been a fan of his since he was in Seattle. Y'all probably don't know who he is, but
Who was that again?
he's like
What's
a
his name
veteran.
again?
Shamari Stone. Oh, you about to look him up?
Absolutely not.
Oh gosh.
Absolutely.
I'm dead. Yeah, Shamari Stone. He's like one of my favorite journalists. Of course, Soledad O'Brien, just because of her work that she did with CNN when she was there. Who else do I love? I'm a part of NABJ, which is the National Association for Black Journalists. I love everybody in that organization. Anybody else? I'm pretty sure there's some more people. But yeah.
What do you like? Don Lemon.
I haven't met Don
I'm
Lemon.
talking about this from his work.
His work? Yeah. I don't really watch it as much.
You know
Like-
what I'm saying? Yeah, he might be watching, but okay.
Don Lemon. I'd like to meet him, you know. I had a close opportunity, but
We
missed
might,
it.
we might can make that happen.
Maybe.
No, I'm just playing. I was just saying.
You know?
But we really enjoy having you here.
Yay, I'm happy to be here.
It could possibly be people who want to be journalists who
Yeah.
hear this and they can benefit from this knowledge right here.
Tell DJ, tell him check this episode out. You don't want to check that one out. And he wanted to be a
Yeah.
journalist, and he was like, he got discouraged because he felt like it was a dying art or however you know what category you want to put it in. He felt like it was dying, so he didn't want to get into it. So,
But if it's dying, revive it.
yeah,
That's just up to us.
I'm gonna tell him check this, shoot this episode to him, tell him check it out.
Anything you want to say in close, Jude?
Man, make sure y'all check this episode out. Streaming everywhere. Tomorrow we will be streaming on everything. Make sure y'all get them. I just got a cash app, man, for a
That's what I was about to
pre-sale
ask you.
ticket.
Somebody just hit me up.
You know, just got that cash app, man. So make sure y'all get them tickets. Look, save that $5, man. Save that $5 so you can get your little sandwich after the club. You know they be getting drunk. Don't come acting crazy, man. But don't forget Soul City this Saturday.
So in the city, you got anything you want to say in closing, journalist? Journalist, take two.
I guess my last closing remarks would be that I'm glad y'all learned something new. I personally don't think journalism is a dying industry. I just think it needs to be redirected with its energy, and I love being a news reporter.
Nice. Where can the people follow you at?
So y'all can follow me on Twitter at I am Jade Jackson, exactly how it sounds. On Instagram at the Jade Jackson, and y'all can check me out on my website at jadejacksononline.com.
Shout out to Jade Jackson for coming to kick it with us. She's one of the last dinosaurs left in the dying industry. She's likened to a compact disc or cassette tape. It was good once upon a time, but now we are in the digital acknowledged plane.
That's funny. That's interesting.
Shout out to Jay. She coming here to offer a different perspective. It's always good to learn something. I didn't really know how stern they was on adjectives and reporting. That's gonna make me look. Now, if I read an article,
and if you do see something, because sometimes it goes by,
I'm gonna be able to tell
you can hold them accountable. Be like, and that's the thing. Like, if you reach out to the news directors or you reach out to stations, you can hold them accountable as journalists. Send them
anyway,
to FTV Live.
listen, it's definitely a fantastic time to have you on board. Perhaps one day we'll see you on the big screen and stuff over there.
Hopefully.
Running, get chased by a 6-year-old with an AK-47 in the dangerous deserts of Afghanistan.
Okay, I'm done.
Report. Jay Jackson reporting. Hey, but no, listen. Another fantastic show from the best podcast you never heard of on a Wednesday. I'm all out of whack. I'm going to be at work tomorrow thinking it's Wednesday. I'm just going to be all out of whack.
Actually, same. Because since you said Tuesday, I'm thinking it's Tuesday. Like, but it's Wednesday today.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Shout out to everybody who listened to us. Definitely get your tickets for the Soul in the City R&B mini concert this weekend featuring Cambria, Terrence Anderson, Allison Victoria, and Jamal White. It's going to be a dope show, a variety of talents who bring different things in. I think it'll be pleasing to whatever form of R&B you like. Get those tickets $10 in advance at the Icon Lounge downtown near the Circle, $15 at the door. It's gonna be a nice evening. DJ T-Rex on the ones and twos, getting busy. Joe and Jasmine doing the hosting. I hope that me and Juvie get to relax. We ain't gotta be all uptight about how everything turning out. Shout out to our favorite Muslim Messiah down. I don't even know where he at. He over there on this world tour. Shout out to all the Israelites who took part in the Day of Atonement. Shout out to our King, Yeshua, and our Elohim, Yahuwah. I don't ever get those shout outs, but I had to today. So he was the Day of Atonement. I'm hungry. I can't wait to eat. And thank everybody who rocking with us. We'll see y'all next Tuesday, where we will be recapping the Soul in the City concert. I don't know why I'm so out of whack today on my explanation, but thank y'all for tuning in to the best podcast you never heard of, Conceited Knowbody.
The Conceited Knowbody. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m.